Alright, so I've got all of my parts for this bulkhead ready to go, at least for the bottom section. What you've just seen me do was do these holes. I fitted these holes on all the pieces that need to be drilled. And I did most of that with a hand file, and I'll show that after I get this together. But for now, I'm just going to do this, put the assembly together and get it ready for riveting. So everything's been deburred, match drilled, filed, fluted, and these things are ready to roll and cleaned. I cleaned everything as well. So let me start getting this together and we'll see how these holes all line up. When you work on this section with all these different pieces, parts, you need to pay real close attention to the rivet sizes and the areas that need dimpled. Because again, if you are using the substructure dies, certain parts use the substructure dies and other parts use the regular dimple dies. And then there are two different sizes. They are the number 30 dimples for a number 30 size hole, and then there are dimples for the number 40. So there again, you got to pay a little attention to what's being ripped or what's being dimpled, and you should use, if it's appropriate, to use the dimpled or the substructure dies or just the regular dies. And like I said, I always like to keep it nice and clean, just to keep the debris away from everything, and I'm not walking around in it and tracking it all through the shop. It's not all over the parts, getting behind layers of material. And like I've always talked about, and I will continue to talk about, I like to have as much alignment force, I like to call it, as I can. By that I mean I use as many clicos as I can to have all of that alignment and clamping force in place, almost like it was riveted, just to make sure that everything is correct and things line up the way I think they should. See how things look. I've had this together. Wow. I had this together and apart many times. I can do it now without looking at the instructions because I know exactly what needs to go where and how. Although the riveting gets a little tricky. Some areas, I think if you rivet a couple of things before you rivet other things, the rivets themselves kind of get in the way. So you have to kind of look at it and figure out which rivets to start with and which rivets to do last. As for the instructions, I do not have this angle piece on this vertical rib. You clico it and drill it and all that, but you do not rivet it to the part itself. So I'm going to leave that separate. This angle, they explicitly tell you to rivet it to the angle, or this angle gets riveted to this rib. This one does not. So I'm going to wait on that. So this is the part here. Actually, let me borrow this camera. So here's the part. This is the bottom section of the baggage bulkhead. And here are the holes that I've been talking about. These here. This one and this one. And you can see how they go through the flange here. Now there are two other ribs that also need these holes put in them, and they mount on these holes here, this line of holes here, and they come out forward. And they also will have a flange here that needs to be drilled for this hole, which is what I had done. Let me go grab one of those and take you with me. And this is talked about, not really talked about, but it is on the plans, and I'll show you that here in a minute too. But here is one of the ribs, and this rib will mount like this, coming out forward, and you can see how I put the notch in it as well, the hole. And that will match up in there with that hole. These do not get mounted at this time, but it's a lot easier to put the hole in it now when you have that other assembly apart, rather than having this assembly here all riveted together and then coming back after the fact and trying to fit this rib on and get these holes drilled. So that's kind of where I am at the moment. I am going to go ahead and start riveting this together. Once that's done, I can start fitting these pieces here to it. So let me get started on that, and we'll talk soon. All right, see ya. All right, so this is what I was talking about with these various pieces, parts that have to go together on this thing. So the instructions clearly state that you do not attach the angle, or you do not rivet the angle onto this piece. You do not rivet this piece onto the assembly. You just leave it clecoed. The rest of it I have riveted as per the instructions, and again you have to pay attention to the rivet call out, because there are different sizes and different locations, and of course there are flush, and then there are the domed rivets. And I've just put this piece on here just to demonstrate what I was talking about down inside here. So you can see where I have this hole coming through here. So that hole goes through this forward piece, this bulkhead piece, this plate, and the flange of this piece, which is back here. There's the hole right here. So it's easier to drill this hole through all these various pieces now at this stage, rather than having this all together and then come back later and try to fit this piece on here and get this hole correct. All right, so this is now done. I don't have the other piece on this side because I'd have to take these clecos off to put it on there. Plus you wouldn't be able to get the view that you have here. So I'm going to do that next. I'm just going to take these few clecos off, put this other piece that goes here in, just to make sure that that hole is still nice and aligned. And then, like I said, then it's on to fitting these side pieces onto the ends of this piece here. Those side pieces come off here and go around up to the top of this right here.